The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it. It's a road show Monday here at Rosie's downtown. 10th and P is where we're at. The doors are now open. Get yourself a cold drink. Find a cocktail that is favorable to you. Get the wings ordered. Get all the munchies you want. Settle in. It is an amazing night for sports. And the place to see it all here at Rosie's 10th and P downtown. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. And Brennan Bora weighs in. We're number one, baby. And it's not the Philly fan number one that Jabba has told us about. This is volleyball rankings. Nebraska volleyball, as you would expect, it at number one in the new rankings after slaying Wisconsin on Saturday night. Plenty of thoughts there. Plenty of thoughts on Nebraska as they are, well, in the medical tent. Dear God, the offensive line hammered Saturday against Northwestern with injury. We'll hear from Matt Rule in the Rule Rewind. But we're here at Rosie's, and we're hanging out here the next few Monday nights, tonight and next Monday. Vikings-Niners tonight. They have live music coming up October 27th with great team heroes, so keep that in mind. Here at Rosie's, downtown 10th and P, if you like live music. The Raiders and Lions next Monday will be here, and then we'll even make a road show for Broncos-Bills in November and get you going for Turkey Day with the Bears and Vikings. So get your holiday parties set up here at Rosie's, downtown 10th and P. Elijah, it's great day for sports, NLCS, ALCS, Monday Night Football, and, of course, Husker healing on many people's mind here with the news on the offensive line. But, hey, a win is a win for the Big Red. Now they turn their attention to Perdon't. Come on down here to Rosie's. Order yourself, even if your name isn't Seabass, get yourself a Boilermaker and get geared up for the right week. 489-1240. 489-1240, numbers to get in. 800-825-5865. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com and watch the show here on the StreamYard setup with Hail Varsity YouTube. Can comment that way. Brennan's chimed in. Moonbot7's already chimed in. Jeff is in, so can get your comments felt that way. Elijah, a lot of things to discuss with the win and more so the future with just how hobbled Nebraska is. Yeah, that was hobbled. Quite a way to start a presser today from Matt Rule. We'll hear from him just a little bit, but I mean, time for the young guys to step up. Matt Rule's made a career of it at Temple and Baylor, getting those young guys ready to go in year one and building the future of that program early. Man, he's got his work cut out for him now with some of the guys that are going to have to be seen in the field. With Justin Evans-Jenkins, had a good game on Saturday. He needs to parlay it into a couple more good games to close the year here. I mean, health has become paramount to this Husker offense now because you look at it, Turner Corcoran out for the year. Ethan Piper out for the year. Nuruddin's going to be out for the next couple of weeks as well. And I mean, you look at it right now, if Ben Scott goes down or if Justin Evans-Jenkins goes down moving forward, you're looking at Sam Sledge, Gunnar Gatula, Tyler Kanak, Jacob Hood, guys that have never played football at this level, not even been on the field, looking to make their starts. And I guess Matt Rule, he's done that before. He's had success with that before. But, man, you don't like the way that puts your offense behind the eight ball. If there's any positives to take away from today, the defense came away from that game on Saturday relatively unscathed, and we all know that the defense is the one winning football games for Nebraska right now. They have been fantastic. They continue to be fantastic on Saturday. I think they give you reason for confidence moving forward, but the offense, it's going to be a struggle to get to, 17 points moving forward, you have to expect, because it's already been a struggle to get to 17 points, and now you have to do it without a couple of starters on your offensive line. It is, and Jeff chimes in, good win, clean it up, and that's a solid take. And can you clean it up on offense? And listen, you've seen Harburg kind of grow and get better, but against Northwestern, that wasn't the case, and it wasn't all on him, but there were some simple execution things that really put Nebraska at a disadvantage early in that ball game with just some simple throws that he didn't make. Now, my arm's garbage, and I don't have big hands, so says the asthmatic here on the stage here at Rosie's, throwing the football or not being asked to throw the football. So let's put it in context. But Nebraska's got to just be better. They've not been that good, but they've at least had a toughness and an identity to be able to run the football. How much of what they've actually been okay at is in jeopardy, Elijah, with 3/5 of a new offensive line? Now, Evans Jenkins came in for quite a bit of the ball game and did well. He's somebody that has flashed and at least gotten a little bit of a nod on the two deep at two different spots. We've been waiting on Teddy P, a guy who's taken so many arrows this year and in his career is Turner Corcoran. He is out, foot injury. The guy gave every ounce of his being to try and help Nebraska win. Now it's Teddy P's turn to come up and be that guy that we've seen very small glimpses of, and he's been out due to injury. Henry Lutoski's come in and earned some time when he was asked to by Raiola, and he has been good firing off the ball and is a really solid run blocker at that right guard. So your replacements here Saturday against Purdue are guys that people have been asking about all season long because you've not been overly dominant on the offensive line. You've been good enough with the run game, and you've been suspect when it comes to pass defense. Can these guys that people have been clamoring for come in and at least keep the peace on offense with your 200 yards on the ground and provide as good or better pass protection for Harburg? And ultimately, can Harburg settle down, or is it time to go to the bullpen?
Guess we're gonna find out, Schmidt. And one of the questions and one of the things Matt Rule said in the presser today is something he's been preaching all year long with that next man up mentality. How ready are those guys that have been waiting in the wings on the offensive line? How much development have they been able to get done this year? Because we're talking 8 weeks of practice now, plus fall camp. Some of these guys were here during spring. When you look at guys like Gunnar Gatula, Justin Evans Jenkins was here during spring. There's going to be guys that are going to have to fulfill that mantra to a T. And Justin Evans Jenkins did a great job of that on Saturday. I don't think he was Ethan Piper. I don't think you expect him to be Ethan Piper, but he did his job admirably, and he wasn't a negative on that offensive line from what I saw in the game on Saturday afternoon. Can other guys step into that and do the same? Lutovsky's been fine in his limited snaps this season. He's gotten on the field, and he's done well. He's going to have a lot more put on his plate over the next couple of weeks. You wonder whether or not when Nuruddin comes back, is he going to get slid over to that left guard spot with Lutovsky starting at right guard? What can Teddy Prohaska do? He hasn't been great in the snaps that we've seen from him so far this year with as much eagerness as there is around him with his frame and what he showed early in his Husker career. He hasn't quite lived up to that this year. Can he step up and be ready to go? Is he a fully healthy, ready-to-go guy? I don't know. There's just a lot of questions with what the offense is going to be moving forward. And that's added to the fact there's been plenty of questions around that offense for about a month and a half now with what they're going to be this season. They do well running the football. I think a lot of that can be attributed to Heinrich Harburg. Can they continue to keep that standard moving forward despite the fact you're looking at 9 guys that were starters on the first depth chart of the year before Minnesota now being on the bench? It's a tall task for that offense, but I think if there's any relief for the offense, it's the fact that 17 points a game should be enough to win you more games than it doesn't in these final 5 games of the year. You're not going up against many offensive juggernauts, and you really trust your Husker defense. 17 points a game. That's probably going to be the task for the Husker offense moving forward. Can a group full of guys that began the year as backups go fulfill 17 points a game, and can the defense help them out? It's about playing complementary football from here on out. It's been about that for the past couple of weeks. It's going to be even more focus on that moving forward. Can your defense, can your special teams, can they set that Husker offense up well and make their job easy moving forward? Because if that offense has to drive long fields every single game, I don't like their chances to go put up enough points to go win football games. There's going to be added strain on the defense moving forward. I think they're ready for that. What can they do to set up that offense and make their lives easier?
Well, let's get to some comments here. Moonbot says, howdy, boys. Second big win. Broncos won. Props, Elijah.
I actually didn't watch the game. It was the best performance of the year from the Broncos. I decided, you know what, my roommate's a big Packers fan. I didn't want him to be gloating, so I went down to the Wynton Marsalis concert down at the Leeds Center, which was phenomenal. And I checked my phone, and the Packers are driving down by 2. I'm like, the Broncos are winning this football game, so I got to watch the end of the game. But I had low expectations coming in, and hey, maybe that's the right way to be a football fan, is have your expectations low so they only surprise you, you know?
Well, Moonbot passed his motorcycle safety course. Good work. Get the license. Be safe, Moonbot. Enjoy riding that hog. Good for you, man. I wish I was talented enough to ride a motorcycle. I am not. Let's hear from Rule right now, part of the Rule Rewind. We're down here at Rosie's, 10th and P. First of many Monday nights you can come spend with us. The Big Ten recap, we'll get there. You be the judge. You make the call. You're judge, jury, executioner on the Iowa-Minnesota call heard around the world. There's a lot of tickets being purchased by one former naval graduate from the University of Michigan. We'll get you around the world in the Big Ten. And, of course, Monday Night Football and baseball playoff action tonight. But guys stepping in, stepping up. Here's Rule on some of those guys that have an opportunity to make a difference Saturday as Nebraska strives for a bowl game and, dare I say, a Big Ten West title.
With that being said, I thought in the last game, I thought a lot of guys stepped up when their number was called. I thought Justin Evans-Jenkins came in both at guard and then at center. Henry Lutovsky is a guy that's been a starter for us at guard. Teddy Prohaska is a guy that's been waiting his turn. So we have lots of guys who started games here on the offensive line. Jaden Doss and some of the other young receivers, they obviously stepped up. Tristan Alvano stepped up. So I expect them to step up, and I expect our veteran players to play their best football. And that's what happened on Saturday. I know Nash people were talking, I thought when you watch tape, Nash played great, and Ty Robinson was absolutely dominant. And so we'll need those guys to play well. We'll need the other guys to step up, and there's a standard here, and everyone has to meet the standard. So I know you guys are all trying to tweet that news out, so I'll give you a second and then wait and hear what you have to say.
So here's my fear with what's left. I know the theme is what's next, but what's left is where I'm at. And the special teams was above average to the point of being a major difference in a great way. Bushimi kicking into the wind in that third quarter. He was great kicking the football.
Alvano from 47 yards out into the wind
to tie it up.
And that thing had another 15 yards of carry on it if he wanted to.
It was awesome. And after that start, you had to tie that game as soon as you could because it just lingered. And then you had two other plays. One where you had Malcolm get beat but ran the guy down. He didn't score on the 66-yard pass. They were forced to kick and get a field goal, right? That made it, I think it was 10-6. Hold on a minute, maybe 10-9. I think that sounds better, 10-9. And then Nebraska immediately comes back with a shot play to Malachi Coleman.
It was 10-6.
Yeah, and then you have the screenplay that was snuffed out by Giff. I mean, those are 4 big-time winning plays. I don't worry about Nebraska continuing to make those for big moments, but I just worry about Nebraska's starts. I worry about their start against Purdue. I worry about their start against Wisconsin and Michigan State on the road. Eventually, someone's going to be there to capitalize, and the defense won't be perfect. That's my fear if I'm a Nebraska fan. Just a quick dose of reality on a Monday because Northwestern was limited. Not Nebraska's fault. Can Robinson and Nash and Giff and this incredible group of young pups keep kicking ass the rest of the season without any help? The offense, Elijah, has to at some point get better and pull their weight. And it looks harder to do now because of what's going on the offensive line.
Well, Schmidt, Matt Rule said it at the beginning of the year. I think it was before the Minnesota game. He doesn't care about how a team starts. He cares about how you finish. And Nebraska started that game, I mean,
about as bad as you could have.
About as bad as you could have against Northwestern. But how do they go out and finish that game? They have a better half of football offensively in the second half than they do in the first half. Your defense steps up. They make plays. And I think that analogy can be used for the entire season. It's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And despite the injuries, Nebraska, with the win next week, is likely going to be tied for first place in the Big Ten West with Wisconsin and Iowa, because Iowa's at 3-2. Wisconsin's at 3-1, but they have Ohio State next week. You look at the opportunity ahead of you. If you can go 1-0 and beat Purdue on Saturday, you will be tied for first place in the Big Ten West. And I've said it for weeks. Nebraska controls their destiny in the Big Ten West. It's no different this week. What are they going to do with that control? Are they going to go out and capitalize? Are they going to go play for all four quarters? And are they not going to let injuries and bad luck on offense derail and determine the outcome of their season? What do they do with the opportunity? That's the question. Nebraska for years hasn't been able to take advantage. We'll see if Matt Rule's been able to make that switch in mentality so that these guys do control their own destiny and succeed.
You got a team built to slug it out. Can they? Come on down here to Rosie's 10th and P. Hail Varsity continues.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Roadshow Monday here. Rosie's, downtown, 10th and P. Monday Night Football on the docket. You've got the Niners at Minnesota. You have the NLCS, ALCS Game 7 and the ALCS Game 6. Could be a clincher for Philly. The Snakes want to extend it one more ball game. 489-1240. Can join us here. Charlie McBride, Mr. Blackshirt, was on hand. We'll get Charlie's take on things here in the 5 o'clock hour. Jay Moore of Big Red Wrap-Up. He'll be with us, get his thoughts on things as Brian chimes in. Punting is winning. There's a lot of Big Ten topics to hit on. The employee for Michigan State who decided to put Hitler up on the Jumbotron has been suspended. You had over 30 minutes of questions and answers by the NCAA as they were made available about Iowa and the punt return that was waved off. And then, yes, you have Michigan and spying that is very real, with Mr. Stallion purchasing 30 seats the last 3 years at 11 different spots. That includes buying seats for the Penn State-Ohio State game that happened. How about that thing? That thing was 20-12, and it wasn't that close, but it was a throwback far cry from a shootout a long time ago.
Well, I said it last week. I said it last week, Schmitty, on this show multiple times and during the Friday forecast. Bet the under.
Too many points.
These defenses are being undervalued because of who these teams are in the history of like Ohio State's defense over the past couple years. They are legit. I said it on Friday. If you listen to Elijah Herbel's advice, you made yourself some money. That's all I'll say about that one.
You were going to race on down to the old book and take Indiana and the points, too. I love it. I love it. No, but back to Nebraska here. Listen, they're missing what? They're missing turnovers, turnover creation, okay, on defense. Just from a perfect world viewpoint to set the offense up. I mean, think about Northwestern. If Nebraska could get this to happen for them, where you start out at the 44, the 45, and the 13. Those are free points. You got a deep in your own territory situation against Illinois, and Harburg took it to the house, right, to make it 17-0. So Nebraska, I think, can capitalize on being set up. The defense, though, has got so much. You know what, though? They might just be built for it. They know it. They will embrace it. And can they be as good as they have to be? And I'm, and Walter chimes in on cue. Nebraska's now -8 in the turnover margin for the season. #putrid. It is. They need to be able to throw the football a little bit. Now, a couple of quick thoughts. One, play calling. Elijah, where are you with this yin and yang of truly needing to be better at throwing the football? So to do that, you need to throw the football in the game. I agree with that from Matt Rule's standpoint. Do you agree a shot / big play out of the gate? Nebraska threw it a lot early before they settled in and kind of went to the quarterback run. Clearly the passing game was off and not working. They need to find a way to get in rhythm for Saturday for sure, with Harburg throwing the ball. And then when Sparty, which is an 11 o'clock kick, by the way, they've got to be able to just be competent. And right now, can you call the offense competent? I think you can because of the rushing numbers, but it's going to be an absolute reset, work in progress with some of these new faces having to have more of a role than a series or two.
And my problem with the offensive play calling, which I laid out in our Real Red Reaction show on Saturday evening, is not the fact that they're throwing the football. Some people hopped on my Twitter. I had some tweets criticizing some of the play calling on Saturday. I stand by them. And people were saying, well, it's 2023. You have to throw the ball. You can't just run three times in the line of scrimmage and expect results. My problem is not the fact that they're throwing the ball. It's the way in which they're going about throwing the football. Like, first play of the game, 1st and 10, you're calling a straight drop back against the worst rushing defense in the Big Ten. I mean, look at how different Northwestern played it on 1st and 10 from their own 41-yard line on that shot play to Malachi Coleman that you score a touchdown whenever you give the threat of the run. Go back and watch the film on that, and look how every single linebacker and 2 cornerbacks are stepping up into their run fits after essentially a fake handoff from Heinrich Harburg and no real threat aside from that on the rushing attack. It's because you've showed that option a couple different times, and Nebraska scored their touchdown. I believe it was 2 plays after you got a chunk play through that option play. So the defense sees that. They're going to come up and read and write because they know our rushing defense isn't the best in the Big Ten. We need to be able to account for this, and Malachi Coleman wide open in the end zone. Heinrich Harburg makes a good throw. My problem is the fact that you're coming out in the first play of the game and you're not even showing the threat of the run, which is what's going to be much more threatening to Northwestern's defense based on what they've shown this year, is if you show the threat of the run first. And I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and actually tabulate how many of Heinrich Harburg's throws on Saturday were from play action, but like first down,
it needs to be most of them.
Yeah, 1st down and 10 though, you're just going to roll a straight drop back on Heinrich Harburg so the defense doesn't even have to worry about the threat of the run. That's my problem with the play calling whenever you look at the rushing attack or in the passing attack when you combine those two elements. It's the fact that it doesn't feel like a lot of the times Nebraska knows how they want to threaten the defense. It feels like they want to set up the run with the pass as opposed to setting up the pass with the run. And there's a healthy balance to strike there. But whenever you're paying your offensive coordinator $1.2 million, you just feel like that should be more buttoned up. 1.4.
Yeah, 1.4, brother, but it's a lot. Let's hear from Matt Rule when it comes to play calling with Heinrich Harburg. He was asked about that today. Cut 8. Matt Rule, rewind here. We're live at Rosie's 10th and P.
The first play is either an explosive play or a touchdown, right? So I just think sometimes as you go through like the ascent of a young quarterback, you go out there early on and you just start to play. I mean, I was taught this by June Jones, so this isn't like Matt Rule's theory, okay? You just go out there, you just kind of play, and you play on instinct. Then you have some success, and so you start trying to be like, oh, okay. You start trying to be, I'm going to do this versus this coverage. I'm going to do this, and you start seeing all these things, and you start to play slow. And then you get through that and you start to play fast again. He was just too slow. I mean, that guy, Fidoni's open, but Borkacher on the corner and go is wide open down. We're going to start the game off with a touchdown, but we rushed. We saw too much, and so I think that showed up a lot during the game. I mean, we left a lot of things out there, way too much out there to win a Big Ten game. So I think as the game settled on, we hit that one. I mean, again, Malachi's first progression, we just played the play and hit it. But there were some plays that were there that I think we absolutely should hit, have to hit. And, I think we're at the point for me as a coach where it's like, hey, we're going to We're going to be more aggressive. We're going to have to push the ball down the field a little bit. Now, obviously this week's a new week. We have some guys down. We have to see who's healthy and who's ready to go. But that was the thought process last week. I just think Heinrich, he can make those plays. He just has to slow down. But that is what happens. They play off instinct. Then they start coming in and watching tape and starting to see the coverages. And whereas early on they were just going 1, 2, 3, now they're like, well, I see the mic, and they start trying to be more. And then all of a sudden they finally hit a point where they relax and they just play. And so Heinrich, it's a good week to try to do that.
It's going to be big, and that really kind of sums up his 4-1, right? I mean, you look at his last few starts, he looked better early, and Michigan's Michigan, and then he looked gun-shy at times, looked just off out of the gate, and he'll need to settle down and be better, and he knows that, and they'll need to figure out a way to get him ready. Let's hear more from Matt Rule. Cut 17 here, a game plan moving forward. I'm anxious to hear this because, what can you put together with 3 new offensive linemen that are going to be asked to play 40-plus snaps, assuming, you're in one of those knockdown, drag-out Big Ten ball games where you're not getting penalties all the time, I should say possessions all the time. But here is Matt Rule on the game plan on offense.
Yeah, we're going to have to find the players we have and find what they do well and put them out there. Each week, this is a man-to-man defense. This is a bear defense that's highly active. Pressure's a lot different than Illinois. Same sort of structure, but different than Illinois. So, it brings unique challenges. But to me, it's about, hey, who are the players that we have and what can they do? And I think that's on both sides of the ball and on special teams. We're always trying to highlight our players and at the same time understanding that each defense brings things that we have to be prepared for. And they have a lot that we have to be prepared for. So getting into specifics of it, I can't say right now. It's Monday, but as we get closer during the week, I think we'll have a good plan.
They'll need to execute that plan, Elijah. That's always been a problem. Anonymous, 2,550 days since the last time Nebraska has had a winning streak longer than 2.
And there was
that hurts.
There was a false stat going around this week, and that had been 1,400 something days since Nebraska had a winning record. That's a little off. It was 700 and something days because you have to go back to following the Buffalo game. But it should be noted, it's been 1,400 plus days since Nebraska had a winning record during conference play. So I think maybe that's where the error in that one went off. So many people were sharing that. It's only been 700 something days, only 700 something days since Nebraska had a winning record overall. But this late in the season, it has been a while, and it does feel a little bit different this year with Nebraska. Despite all the injuries, it does feel like Nebraska's just got a different mentality that they're playing with right now, and we'll see what they can do without any of those guys essentially offensively that you started the year with. And according to Matt Rule, it's about finding what those guys do and figure out the best way to attack a defense with that, meaning I think the game plan, what Nebraska's going to do offensively, is going to change on a week-by-week basis, which means Marcus Satterfield's got to earn his keep.
Yeah, he does, or at least go sit with Tom Osborne. And which isn't a bad thing. You know what, Tom? Hey, it's Coach Rule. Me and Sat are wondering if you'd like to go to lunch Monday through Thursday. How does that sound? We saw you at practice today. Thanks, by the way, for the belly option and then the belly option pass. Thank you for that suggestion. Do you have any more suggestions, Coach? What do you think the offense can do? I know you have probably scoured the Purdue film Sunday. The NFL weekend games wasn't that great locally with TV. So what do you think? I'd absolutely lean into that. And I know that may not be everyone's opinion, but I literally looked at Dolman in the press box on Saturday and said, why the hell are they throwing the football? I said, okay, it was after the second interception. Why are they not trying to establish the run game? I know they're a far cry from the pipeline, but just figure it out. Absolutely figure it out. And then Malachi scored, and all was right with the world.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. We're here at Rosie's, downtown Rosie's, 10th and P. It's the Big Ten recap. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Hail Varsity Roadshow Monday. Monday Night Football going on. Niners, Vikings, Diamondbacks in front of them fighting Phils. Of course, the Rangers and Astros going at it. We'll dive into some Iowa thoughts here this segment. Did they deserve to win that ball game? Did they deserve to lose the ball game? Do you feel a little smidgen of remorse for Iowa getting hosed? And I know the call was the call, but I think they absolutely, DeJean found a way to win that ball game for him, where it's 1-on-8, and he made it happen. I don't think he was dirty with what he was doing. I think the refs screwed it up. More from
It's
Michigan.
not about being dirty, though. We'll get into this, I guess. But, like, you got to think about the guys that are running full tilt downfield, looking up at a returner. Could there be any confusion there with how he signaled that? That's kind of where I'm at. It's like, think about
He's
the guys.
He's saying grenade, grenade, grenade. That's how I took it, okay? And even so, Minnesota's going to have to down the ball, right, Elijah? You're going to have to down the football. You have to locate the ball and down it.
Well, but think about the guys that are trying to run full speed downfield through a block.
He broke 8 tackles. He broke 8 tackles. There was no Iowa guy in front of him until he cut across the field. I mean, it was 1 Hawkeye versus 8 Gophers. There was 8 guys around him, and he broke the initial wave. They blew that tackle anyway.
Yeah, but whenever you think about it from a ref's point of view, I think you have to look at the guys that are running full tilt down the field that, you know what, they have an Iowa Hawkeye in front of them trying to block him, and you see a guy making a movement with his hands, kind of looks like he's calling a fair catch, and I don't think anyone actually did pull off, which is what makes it really, really tough and a really hard call for Iowa. But I understand.
Shoulder level, brother.
It was
level.
right at shoulder level where he's waving off like this, and I think if you're running full tilt downfield and you're it was not more hip. It was right at shoulder level.
He was going. It was like he was doing an incomplete around.
No, because he had one hand out pointing and one hand waving, and I can understand if you're a guy running full tilt downfield trying to shed a blocker, you can see that and go, oh, he's calling a fair catch here. Look how he's waving his hand, and that's why I think the call gets made. The problem with it is you go back and watch replay. I don't think any Golden Gophers pulled off. I don't think any took it as
making a fair catch.
But it doesn't matter what the guys think. It's what the refs interpret it as. And if I'm a ref, I'm going to protect the Golden Gophers, who you never know. Maybe they thought it was a fair catch because you're right in that gray area. And that's why it's not called that he made a fair catch. It was called he made an invalid fair catch signal.
Which
is because of the confusion.
Within the rules of the fair catch, they went and looked to make sure he was in bounds. And then they pulled it was more of a disconcerting signal penalty here, right? Yeah. He was an invalid. You're not wrong with that at all. But they went and penalized him, and it was different from what they were originally searching out with replay.
And that's where things get tough.
Okay, yeah. He got popped for speeding, but they thought, okay, what's this kilo in the back seat? We're not going to worry about the speeding ticket. We are going to throw you in the can, though, for drug trafficking. I mean, it went from bad to worse.
I like how we said we'll get to this in just a bit, but we had to go for the top rope.
And listen, my old boy Iowa Russ, saw him for drinks yesterday. He is furious about the offense. He's furious about what type of level of defense they've had, and they've had no help on offense. 2 phases have been great. I'm like, so what did you do? Did you lose your mind? He's like, nope, I just sadly went out back, and he has 4,000 trees in his backyard. It's the Iowa Rust Hidden Forest. And he just started raking. That's how he takes out his anger. He goes and does yard work and just sighs. So that was a tough one. Michigan, you have the staffer that was brought on as the analyst, Mr. Stallions, had tickets at 11 Big Ten schools. Connor Stallions suspended more than 30 different games over the past 3 years at 11 different Big Ten schools. That, according to 11 different league sources talking to ESPN. course, you have the alleged sign-stealing operation that includes both video evidence of electronics prohibited by the NCAA. Matt Rhule was asked about this by Eric Olson of the Associated Press when it comes to sign stealing.
Sign stealing happens every game. There's nothing wrong with teams over there looking over trying to steal our signs. There's nothing wrong with us trying to look at their signs. It's why you should have mics in the helmets, right? Like, all these coaches that vote against it every year is because they don't want to teach their quarterback. You know, in the NFL, each quarterback goes out there with 3 play calls because if I see the free safety's foot like that, it might be one high. I'm going to check to this play. But you get to college and you're watching a game on a Tuesday night, and they got the signal and they're just calling a play. So that's what makes college football, to me. That's why they score maybe more points, but it's also why the kids are less prepared. So that's why there should be 100% should be. We could get rid of all the stupid signs on the sidelines, and we could get pictures of, rock stars and all that stuff, and we could just play football the way it was meant to be. You go to a high school game, there's technology on the sideline. You go to an NFL game, there's technology on the sideline. You go to the college, there's nothing. Like, if you don't think, so that it should be that. But that's sign stealing. That's not. I would not carry that over to going and filming someone else's practices or something like that, or filming someone else's games. That's completely something different. I'm not saying that happened, but I think what's wrong partly in our society right now sometimes is we say someone does something against the rules, and sports need rules, right? Sports need rules to keep competitive balance. And when someone does something against the rules, we say, well, should that really even be a rule? And it is the rule. That's the rule, right? Like, I didn't get to play with. We don't get 5 downs. But in game, stealing of signs. When I play against somebody and I know that person has friends on the next staff, I know if they have our signs, they're having it the next week. That's all part of the game, and you have to do what you do. We should absolutely have technology, but if there's a rule, the rule should be followed. And I'm not speaking about what's happening right now because I don't know what happened. But if that is happening somewhere, it's completely wrong.
So that's a lovely shot at Colorado. 5 downs. We need technology. Matt Rhule's not apparently a fan of the sideline poster board. Like the beginning of Ozark, there's 4 signs you had to decipher. Well, you have 4 things that you point at that is your indicator on so many of the old Oregon offenses. More from Rhule. Do we have time or no on the Michigan take? He's pretty much saying, is Michigan cheating? Here's Rhule.
I am. No one from the Big Ten or NCAA has asked me anything yet, so I'm not going to probably comment on anything like that. I would never want to cast shade at somebody else going through a hard time. I don't know anything.
Okay. Well played, Matt.
Well, here's the thing, is the NCAA, though, now has evidence that Stallions, as you laid out, 30 games across 3 years, and I think the NCAA is probably going to follow the money here, because old boy Stallions, he was on something like $50,000 a year as a staffer for Michigan.
55, right? Yeah.
55. And that's a lot of money to travel to all these different places and buy tickets, great football games. Ends up being a lot of money. You're doing that on $55,000 a year? Who's paying for these tickets?
Who paid for the block of 4 for Ohio State? Penn State, right? Eat Beef says, Rhule ain't no snitch. I love it. We're here at Rosie's, 10th and P. Come see us. Playoff baseball going on, Monday Night Football. Hour 2 on the way with Hail Varsity.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point at you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Winding down a first hour here at Rosie's, 10th and P. Come out and see us. Plenty of baseball going on. You have NLCS, ALCS, Monday Night Football. A spirited thought or two on Twitter about the fair catch or the non-fair catch or the punishment. Listen, as a Nebraska fan, any ill will you have towards Iowa, I am here to hear and listen. Totally get it. Would it be beyond Iowa trying to get an advantage by maybe signaling a half-hearted fair catch or pull the disconcerted signals? Possibly. I get it. The Hawkeyes lose that ball game. Their offense is disgusting. Their special teams and Cooper DeJean need to play offense, Elijah. But just wait till next year. And don't make that call on Black Friday.
Well,
don't need to try and contain him.
With Iowa's offense and with Nebraska's injury concerns on offense, and we'll see how many of those guys, think of Billy Kemp and Nuruddin, if they're going to be back for the Iowa game, that might set the record for the lowest total points in college football history, because I don't see that game reaching 30. Personally, Iowa, Nebraska, Black Friday. I know I'm way ahead of myself here, but that strikes me as a 6-3 ball game.
30 incompletions each way. Ken E. lets us know that the La Bamba Burrito joint in Champaign, we missed it 2 years ago, had all the Big Ten Stadium pictures hanging. They had Iowa upside down after Iowa snitched on Illinois basketball. Yeah, that's a touch heated. But we'll talk to Charlie McBride, get his impressions of Nebraska in person. He saw the Big Red v. Northwestern. He was in Coach Osborne's box with Jared Thomas. Jay Moore going to join us as well, as you're invited down to Rosie's, NLCS, ALCS going on. 25 over under on Black Friday. Point total, I'm going unders. Going unders the rest of the way.
That's 14-11. That's even a lot of points for Nebraska and Iowa.
It's 13-10. I mean, they just got off and lost a game 12-10. Minnesota just won kicking 4 field goals. Now, Nebraska did that back in the day with Dale Klein against Missouri. I think it was 21-9 or something like that. Babbers knows the score, but Nebraska's had to do their fair share, not always, but at times, of limited offense, score 1 or 2 touchdowns, and let the defense handle it and win it for you. Reminder to get buckled up. 1 of every 3 fatal crashes in Nebraska involves an alcohol-impaired driver. Why take chances? If you drink, don't drive. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. More thoughts from Coach Rule. We're here at Rosie's, the Big Ten recap with Rosie's. Monday Night Football, Vikings hosting San Francisco. And I don't know what to tell you. They're going to find more and more mounting evidence. Elijah's going follow the money with who's paying for the seats and the tickets for this Michigan staffer. And it was kind of a laugher with Penn State, Ohio State. Defense was glorious for the Buckeyes. They've been an afterthought this year, and they were for real, as Allard was 18 of 43 throwing the football. So a lot of struggling quarterbacks in the Big Ten on Saturday. We'll talk Blackshirts. Mr. Blackshirt is next. Charlie McBride, it's Hail Varsity, as we're on the road here at Rosie's.
This is Christian Peter. I'm sorry, but the stories I have about Charlie are not appropriate for the public.
The right case of the Mondays. It's Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, on Hail Varsity Radio.
Back here at Rosie's, it's Hour 2, Hail Varsity Roadshow Monday, 10th and P, where we're at downtown. And it was awesome to have one of the true best ever back in Lincoln to check out Nebraska firsthand. We say hi to Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie, as Coach was able to be in and see Nebraska-Northwestern. Coach McBride, thanks for a few minutes. How are you? How was the trip?
Oh, it's good. I just got home about an hour and a half ago, and but I had a chauffeur, so I was doing okay. I'm doing better. I made Comet's drive the whole way.
That's pretty good. I gotta ask you, how is it riding with old Jared?
Good. My wife was in the back seat, and his wife and 2 kids were in the truck behind us.
Well, good.
So we had 2 cars going. So
you got a chance to caravan.
It was
down.
A good trip.
That is good. Coach,
I got to see a whole bunch of guys that Pat Engelbert and Terry Keneally kind of rounded up, a whole bunch of the old guys, offense and defensive guys, and we had a early tailgate and long and had a chance to see a whole bunch of guys that I hadn't seen in a long time, and Tom came over for a few minutes and George Darlington was there for a while, and it was nice.
I want to ask you, Coach, how was your time with the team? You had a chance to talk to the team on Thursday and spend some time around Coach Rule and company. How was that experience?
It was good. I enjoyed, the practice. The kids really worked hard, and that's kind of the best thing. They did some new stuff a little bit. They had their Thursday practice on Friday. They kind of switched days as far as their tempo and things go. So it was interesting to see, and it seemed to work out pretty good. I had a chance to see some of those young guys play and, work out, which I was kind of interested in. And there's some really, really good players there. I think the future looks pretty good.
It's Charlie McBride with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. He was in town for Nebraska-Northwestern. And Charlie, today at his Monday morning presser, is right around noontime, midday presser, I guess we'll call it that. Matt Rule said that he had an NFL scout come down, watch practice, and he had him tell the guys that, you know what, you guys are the second hardest practicing team that I have seen in college football, only behind the Georgia Bulldogs. So I want to get your thoughts on what you saw at practice and how the physicality of that Husker practice on Friday compares to what it was like whenever you were at Nebraska.
Well, I excuse me. Like I said, they changed their practice tempo a little bit on each day as far as equipment and things like that. Or actually, Friday was more of a live day, and usually in the past when we were practicing, Friday was, of course, a review day, I guess you'd call it, and you had the scout team working against you, but you didn't have you only had your helmet on, and the rest of your equipment was not, wasn't any banging around. It was all repeat of the offense and defense and so forth that you were going to see on Saturday. And so, but they changed it around a little bit and do it the other way. And I didn't get a chance to talk to them for the reason for doing that, but it seemed defensively, at least, it seemed to work out.
Charlie McBride's with us, a Monday with Charlie at Hail Varsity Radio. Coach back up north from his trip to Lincoln. Coach, without having to share every specific detail, what did you want to tell the team? Because I know Coach Rule talked about you sharing thoughts with the kids. If you feel comfortable sharing it, what did you tell the kids?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that that they, I expressed it a little bit of the experience that we had with young players. They really didn't know each other, and to have a real brotherhood between them. They're just starting to experience that, and to depend on each other. Don't not to go off by yourself and think you're the only thing going, but and I did say, I think I said one thing was that if you don't know somebody, I always told the kids, go up and introduce yourself. I tried to get the seniors always to spend time and the juniors to go up and meet them and make them feel wanted. That's the biggest thing that young guys want to be, is they just want to be part of the team and want to be wanted. And they want to show the older guys that they belong. And I think you're starting to see some of that. And I had a laugh because the play that Coleman scored on, I was standing in the end zone. He nearly ran over me when he caught it the exact same pass in practice. And it was kind of interesting because the one thing I noticed about him is he's so relaxed when he catches the ball. For a young guy, they're kind of fighting it a little bit, but he looks like an experienced guy. When just on that one catch I saw him making a deep ball in practice. But, I think that, in talking a little bit of those kids, just individually, just maybe for 10 seconds or so, each one of them, some of them, Coach sent the whole team down to introduce themselves to us. It was almost a shock. But I think I shook hands with about every kid that was on the team that was healthy. I think some of the guys that were hurt probably weren't there, and it made me feel kind of wanted around there to be, you don't know when you're an old man and you're gone, and it just makes you feel good to be around those young people and see the enthusiasm that they do have. And, for a team that's probably not, 6-0 or 7-0 or whatever it is, these kids look like they are 6 or 7-0, and they're trying. That's the thing I wanted to see. What's really, because you can tell sometimes when you've been around it long enough if they're really getting into it, and there wasn't any question that they were.
Charlie McBride's with us, a Monday with Charlie. It's Hail Varsity Radio. Mr. Blackshirt, his trip to Lincoln. What do you think of the game? What do you think of the defensive performance? What do you think of hanging on 17-9?
Well, I was, when you coach the defensive line, you kind of pay attention to it, and I really thought those guys played well. I mean, even the young kids came in and played well. I think as well as I do in the past, not this year not as much, but in the past, the tackling's been kind of weak, and that's probably the biggest thing that you see with this football team. They're, each week, that part of it's even getting better. And then when you see kids catch people from behind and you see that kind of effort, and you see big men downfield blocking, and, even on offense. And I know the offense kind of sputtered at times and things like that, and that's gonna happen. All of a sudden, it's gonna pop. I mean, it is, and you just have to be patient with that part of it. I thought maybe that we'd get ahead enough where maybe we'd see another quarterback in there and just to give them some time, a little bit. That's the thing I think the team might be missing a little bit is, if they get in a game where the quarterback does get hurt, that some of the guys have not even experienced any playing time, and that would worry me a little bit. But that's the only thing that I could say, and I think that he's, going to stick with whoever's there, it looks like, and that's his philosophy. That's just the way he coaches, and if they keep winning, there's not much you can say about it, but that's one position that I think needs to get a few snaps, at least get on the field and do, run a few plays and stuff like that, just so they doesn't always surprise them. And if they get in a situation where they really have to get it done, that they don't feel like it's, they're a nervous wreck.
It's Charlie McBride with us here on Hail Varsity Radio talking Nebraska-Northwestern. And Charlie, I want to get your thoughts on what you saw from the Blackshirts. What impressed you from that unit on Saturday, and where do you think they can still continue to improve? If you were the man on the headset, if you were still the defensive coordinator, what would you be repping in practice this week to get that defense better?
Well, I think, that all of them are working together. That, and then it looks like, I've always said it looks like a traffic jam and a wreck. I mean, when you're playing defense and you're rushing the passer, they're starting to really get the job done. It's the effort, because you have interceptions, and some of them are caused by the defensive line a lot of times because it's a bad throw or it's a batted up ball or anything like that. I think, even with the defensive linemen, all of them need to understand that, turnovers are going to be huge in the future with the teams they're playing. So I think, you'd like to see more turnovers is the only thing that I, felt like. And those things come as you get experience because some kids are out there, I just need to get the tackle, and not thinking about getting the ball out of there or anything else, and the same thing with the second guy. But I think that overall team effort together and the responsibility each side of the ball has for each other is something that has to grow, and I saw a lot of it. I mean, I know they banged around a little bit on offense, and people were discouraged about it. I didn't feel too much about that. Because I didn't see a lot of moping around, by the offense even when they had tough times. They were still working at it and trying, and a couple guys, of course, got hurt, and the guys that came on, I thought did a good job, But, with that experience, you get depth. And so I don't know how everything turned out. You know more than me about it because you've probably heard the injury report today, but I didn't get a chance to hear that. So,
Coach, they lost three. Yeah. They lost three of their starting 5 offensive linemen: left guard, left tackle, and right guard. The left guard and left tackle are out for the year.
Well, I with the team they have, a young team that they have right there, that won't hurt. I mean, I know it hurts, but as a coach, it really bothers you because it takes away your depth. But the thing is when you have depth and guys that have experience, what you're doing is you're working on getting a chance for guys to play a couple series and get a rest for a series, and the guys to come in you can depend on, and that's what's really happening right now. Plus the fact that when the year comes and guys have played a little bit, and the competition becomes better.
Sure. Coach, I got about a minute. Charlie McBride with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, live at Rosie's downtown, 10th and P. Thought on Purdue. Do you feel good about Nebraska being able to keep this streak going?
Sure. I mean, they're playing at home. They got the people behind them. I think they're. When they came out of the other side, I didn't know what happened. They got their locker room over on that side now. I never thought about it, that way. But that kind of shocked me at first. When they came out, I wondered what the heck's going on, So, but altogether, I think with Purdue, I think it's just a matter of overall effort. I mean, the harder you play, the harder you work, the good things will happen. And I stress, hey, if you make a mistake, go 100 miles an hour. Doing it, don't stand around and say, oh, I made a mistake. Just go get something done because you got another play coming, and that's where you can make up for any mistakes you did make.
Coach, we're hoping to see you at Michigan State. Me and Elijah are headed up to that direction in a couple of weeks, so we might have to invite you out for some wings.
If it's not too cold for Debbie, we'll be up there. I think I talked to, in fact, some people that are actually – their children played for Michigan State and are friends of ours, and they're all done playing now. They're all out coaching somewhere, but to see them is going to be nice, and we get along good. We won't have any fights before the game. maybe afterwards.
Coach, you take care. Enjoyed having you back in town. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot for having me. I'll talk to you later. Bye now.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. Road show continues here at Rosie's 10th and P. The downtown Rosie's. We love doing this. Big thanks to Munchie and the crew for having us out. The Big Ten recap. Monday Night Football. Game 7 of the NLCS. Jay Moore with us. Blackshirt Husker NFLer at Jay Moore 44. His 49ers kicking off, and they'll hand it to McCaffrey in an abusive amount of times tonight against Minnesota. You know what, Jay Bird, you use that word abuse, and it's got super negative connotations, and then it has accurate connotations when we talk about Big Ten West football, just the Big Ten in general, and Nebraska able to, survive, outlast, out-tough a Northwestern team that has no business coming in at 3-3, but lo and behold, they were, and Nebraska now a game over 500. What'd you think of Saturday? Did you avert your eyes ever?
No, I was there. I watched the game in person. Second game I've been at to this year, and obviously the first play from offense and the interception happens, you just know, okay, it's going to be a dogfight. Northwestern is always just a scrappy football team. I don't care what people think, and I don't care what people may have had perceived coming in, because obviously with the Fitzgerald situation, but this team is just, they're scrappy, they fight, they got smart coaches, they just know how to work with what they got, and that's just what they did. And luckily, their offensive line and our defense, Northwestern's offensive line, they can't block anyone, and our defense just feasted on that all day with the TFLs and the sacks. So you just know it. Every time you're going to play Northwestern, it's always a dogfight. Except you go back a couple of years ago where we beat them 50-7, at home. That's like the only game I can remember with Northwestern, and where it's just been it was over at halftime, right? But you just know it, and frankly, that's just the way the rest of the season is going to be. Is just an absolute dogfight. The injuries now that have hit the offense, and obviously young quarterback, and you're just playing a ton of young players now with injuries. I'm telling you what, I know I mentioned if they could score 21 last week. Now I'm hoping they can score 17. Just looking at everything, and just the amount of injuries that this football team has taken a hit on, from running back position, wide receiver position, now to the offensive line position. It's I can't remember a season ever like this where so many starters have gotten either nicked or out for the season with season-ending injuries. And with 5 games to go, you can get, hopefully through Purdue. And once you get into that Michigan State game, now you can start playing some of those younger players. Not have to worry about burning that red shirt. So I know that's definitely got to be on their minds too, with all these injuries that happened. But just knew it's going to be a dogfight. And like I said, you got to be prepared. There's going to be 5 more dogfights left here, and to finish out October and November.
It's Jay Moore with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, talking Nebraska-Northwestern. We'll look ahead to Purdue here in just a second, and we'll also talk about the offense and the rash of injuries, Jay, here in just a second. But first, got to talk about the defense, because it's the defense that's leading the way for this Husker football team right now. And the way I see it, with 5 games left, I don't see a game on the schedule where Nebraska's defense can't go out and win you the game, despite the lack of offensive threat that you pose right now. Because as you kind of said, if that offense can put up 17 points a game, I think every single game is winnable with what that defense is doing. I'll get your thoughts on the defensive line. Matt Rule got up in front of the media today and said that was Ty's best game since he's gotten here. You have Nash, who's making plays all over the field. You even get a guy in James Williams, a walk-on from Iowa Central Community College, who is coming and making plays, got himself 1 sack in the ledger, another couple of half sacks if we're talking NFL with the way they keep stats. He had a really impressive game. What were your thoughts, not only on the Husker defensive line, but the front 7 and how they played against that Northwestern offensive line, which admittedly didn't have their best day?
Yeah. I've always expected, with what we've seen, early on in the season, I just expect the defense to play well. I think they gave up a couple big plays. They had that long run up the middle. They got gashed on. They had that pass. I think that Hurrdat did a great job of getting them down, and that defense was able to hold them to 3 plays there. I think that was late in the third quarter, maybe early in the fourth. I can't quite remember that play happened. But listen, this defense is solid. They are just smart, well-coached, fundamentally sound. They tackle well. They create pressures, and they get off the field. They get off the field for the most part. And you look at the up front with Nash, and then with Ty and some of the younger players, Princewell and Jamari Butler. I mean, those guys are playing their tails off. They're playing fantastic football. You look at the back end. I mean, I thought Reimers was back, made some good things happen. I thought Isaac Gifford played fantastic as well. I view him more as a linebacker almost than a secondary guy. But I mean, that play Isaac made on third and 8? It was a zero blitz. Isaac was lined over the center. They ran a little screen pass to the short side of the field towards the Nebraska's sideline, and he defeats like two blockers and makes the play for holding the 5 yards, and they got a punt. I mean, that's fantastic football, and that's just making a play. We need to make a play and relying on your best players, which Isaac Gifford is one of the best players on this defense and best players on this team, to go up and make a play when you need to. And I think that's just the biggest thing that this defense is able to do for the majority of the season, was make a play when they need to. And I think if they can continue to have success on first and second down like they have all year, you get teams in the third and long and third and predictable, they're gonna keep continuing to play well. And without a doubt, this defense is going to keep this team into every game the rest of the season, as long as, knock on wood, injuries, and as long as they keep doing their thing, we're gonna have a shot. We're gonna have a fighting chance against anyone and everyone the rest of the season. So, again, hats off to them. They were killer, man. I mean, it was. I think I could have got a sack even in that game, even with one hip right now. I think I might have got maybe a sack and a half even, because that was a game you did not want to come off the field. You were fighting with the position coach, like, do not get me off the field, because I'm going to become all conference if I keep playing in this game. I get me 3 or 4 sacks.
Jay Moore is with us, Blackshirt Husker NFLer. We're live here at Rosie's downtown, 10th and P. Monday Night Football, NLCS Game 7. Jay, the defense works in such in such unison. That third down package, guys do their job. They know their job. They're super confident. I want to go over to the offense for a minute. And what's your confidence level at in Harburg was skittish, right? And he wasn't letting it rip per se. And you couple the injury situation now. The offense has been dire as is, and I'm not piling on to pile on. It is a struggle to get to double digits for this offense. What they've been good at is running the football. They've been good at running the quarterback, and they're still, despite their inconsistency throwing or not much balance or confidence in balance with run-pass, 195 is the number they put up rushing the football. They're going to have to do something, short field or not, with what they've been good at. Do you anticipate with these new faces on the O-line, because of some of the experience they have, being able to not really miss a beat? Can they do what the defense has done, and that's keep on keeping on?
Man, it's tough. I firmly believe offensive line and defensive line, and more offensive line in general, that you do have a chemistry in playing with each other, and you kind of you're able to play and kind of feel off those guys on how blocking schemes and just certain, how it's weird. And you practice against with each other so much that you just have a feel. And now with Corcoran and Ethan Piper out for the year, Noelle's out for a couple weeks. You have some new faces. I know Justin, Jenkins was able to get in there and play most in the second half, and so able to get some reps. I know he's played at other times this year too, so I think that's going to help. But you start putting another player. I think Latowski has played a little bit, but again, this is a huge week of practice for him to kind of get some better chemistry, camaraderie, and just figuring out what this group's going to do well. Like you said, but they've been able to run the football for the most part. I think from the passing aspect, they've given Harburg a decent amount of time. I think Harburg just got to do a better job of seeing the field. He's missed a couple open receivers. He tends to lock in on Fodoni, which I know they have a good relationship, and he's a big target to throw to, and a pretty low low risk throws to Fedoni, but if he's able to kind of get himself to expand and see the field, he's getting some guys are getting open on the back end, and he has obviously did a great job of finding Malachi Coleman on that big play from our own 45 there in the third quarter. So listen, they just got to figure it out, and it's going to be ugly, and I think they're okay with that. It might be 3 yards in a cloud of dust sometimes, and I think you got to realize punting the football is okay. It's okay. If you just don't risk it, flip the field. Your defense is so good. I mean, literally take a page out of, and I'm sure they already are. I mean, Iowa's been doing this for years. It's not a knock on Iowa, but Iowa knows who they are, and they do it really, really well. They win football games 17-10, 17-13, 13-10, and they just rely on their defense. And you're going to have to do that with this offense. I just don't. It's going to be rare for them to go on 75-yard scoring drives. They're going to have to get short fields, hopefully take some shots in those scenarios, and try to run the football that takes some time off the clock, and then you punt it, let your defense go do its work, and hopefully you get the ball back at your own, 45, maybe around the 50 or at the opponent's 45, and you can go to work from there. But yeah, and you get Billy Kemp that's out as well, so that's even a hurt to this offense, and he was able to do so many things just from a jet sweep type of scenario, and but it's all hands on deck, and it just is. And going forward, and I truly believe they'll figure it out. Not figure it out to where they're going to start, a scoring explosion. I just know they're going to put their guys in the best position to win, put them at very high success rates, and just know we got a damn good defense. Let's rely on them as well.
Jay, we got about 30 seconds before we have to take a break, and we'll come back, get your thoughts on Purdue. But with those 30 seconds, scale of 1 to 10, what is your panic meter with the offense now that you've heard the injuries report today from Coach Matt Rule?
6. Concerned, slightly concerned, but not overwhelming. So I think, like I said, you can hopefully they can figure it out. I truly do that. I'm not, if they had Penn State and Ohio State left in the schedule, yeah, that's no good. But there's no defense that they're going to play except for Iowa in the rest of this year that I think they can. That is of a huge concern. So I think they can keep doing their thing and keep going. And I would say a 6 is about perfect from a scale of 1 to 10.
Jay Moore still with us, Hail Varsity Radio here at Rosie's downtown 10th and P. Jay Bird, you've got Coach Walters and his affinity to be really good. No personnel takeaway. It's been a little bit of a pleasant surprise with year one in Purdue, and I chalk up that Illinois win as the surprise. We'll see how the rest of the year shakes out for him. But just a 2.5-point line, Nebraska favored in Lincoln. You've got Hudson Card coming in, who's an athletic quarterback, and Nebraska's not had to face that many athletic quarterbacks yet, so it's a problem for what you're going to see. Defense got to be on point, and we touched on the offense just last segment. I'm interested to get your feel right now with the winnability. Do you see this as a coin flip, or do you kind of put this in the category of, yeah, you got to go take care of this if you're Nebraska? The margin for error is 0. They got to win these next 2 to be bowl eligible, I think. But is your concern level, to kind of follow up with Elijah, is Purdue a team that can come surprise Nebraska, or is Nebraska and home field going to be the difference at 2:30?
I think the home field will be the difference. I think if they come out and turn the ball over early again, like they did against Northwestern, I think Purdue's offense is better than Northwestern, so that could be an issue. That could be a problem. I think defensively, I foresee the game plan kind of being defensively as you saw with Illinois, a lot of spy action because Card is athletic and will tuck it and run it. So I could see kind of how we handled with Illinois QB situation. We brought pressure and guys were able to get home, but he'll tuck it and run it. I think you'll see a Bullock, a Rhyme or whoever kind of sitting back there and playing on a little spy situation. But if Nebraska can play clean football and take care of the football, which I know it's happened, maybe one time this year, they should win this football game. Is it going to be stressful at times? Yes. Are they going to win by double digits? I doubt it. I see this game shaking out to be a 17-10, 17-13 type of ball game, and it's just a field position battle. It is a turnover battle. It's a time possession. This is just classic Big Ten West football as we've gotten to know. Like I said, they can easily lose this game and they can easily win this game. But I see Nebraska still being the better team. Purdue's got a new coach. They've played well so far. They beat Illinois handily. They lost to Iowa. They got handled by Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country. But I think Nebraska, if they just take care of the football. And I know they haven't done a great job. And I'm just waiting for that time to finally just let's clean up the mistakes. You're going to have fumbles. I get that. Hopefully, we can get them back like we did against Northwestern. But take care of the football. I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be their 5th win of the season.
Do you contemplate a change at quarterback if there's a tough start by Haarberg again? Do you go back to Sims?
When those couple picks happened early in the game, I thought it was going to happen. I truly did. But they stuck with them. I think it just depends because I don't know exactly what the play is called and where Sims is supposed to be looking. But I imagine if it gets to a point where he continues to miss open receivers and makes poor decisions with the football, you might have to take a chance with Sims. But again, it's hard because Harvard's.
That's why the guy lost the job.
Yeah, Greg's right. He's 3-1. He's won football games. Now Sims hasn't played at home yet. Sims' first 2 games were on the road. He hasn't had that to his advantage. But I don't know how long the leash is. I think it's decently long. But I tell you what, there's mistakes again with decision making with the football. I could see it, and especially if Sims is healthy, which I think he is. We haven't heard anything else. But again, I think what it really comes down to is, yes, we know Sims is a better thrower than Haarberg. Is he a better decision maker? I don't know. We don't know that yet. He's only played in 2 games. But is Sims a better runner than Haarberg? I don't think so. I think Haarberg is better fit for the type of QB run game we want to have. I think Haarberg's a little just bigger, a little stronger, can break tackles. I think he just has a better feel right now with the option game. I'd like to see him pitch it maybe a little more, but again, I think that'll be a topic of discussion the rest of the year too. So, I thought they might make a change after those first 2 interceptions, but they stuck with them, and the guy's 3-1 so far. So that's all that matters. Is that win column. So I don't foresee any changes unless it gets really bad.
Jay, you said 3-1. It's actually 4-1 for Heinrich Haarberg.
Oh, it is 4-1. Sorry,
4-1 with Heinrich Haarberg, and that's a little bit in spite of what's been going down with the injuries offensively. I mean, it just feels like there's a new one every single week. Yet he continues battling through and finds a way to win. I think the main thing you can say about Haarberg in his performance is he finds a way to win despite anything and everything seemingly going wrong on the injury front. And I'm kind of with you that you can't go away from that just yet unless there is real reason to do so. But my question to you is, moving forward now with the rash of injuries in a game like Purdue, is Nebraska going to need that defense to set up the offense a la Iowa, how they win football games? I mean, Nebraska doesn't have a defensive touchdown yet this year, which is a bit surprising to say, considering how dominant that defense has been at times. You think back to 2009, they needed some defensive touchdowns to go get some wins in that season. Is this a week where Nebraska, considering the injuries, especially on the offensive line, is going to need a defensive touchdown, or at least something really setting up that offense with an easy chance to score?
Yeah, I should hope so. I mean, they did. They set them up a couple times, right, at Illinois, and the offense didn't do had hold up their end of the bargain on that deal as well. So I think I would absolutely, they need to score. You got to do something. And I know they're trying. It's not the easiest thing in the world to score on defense. Trust me.
Did you ever score a touchdown, Jay?
Not in college. I scored plenty in high school. Okay. So I had 1 interception in college. That's all I can. That's the closest I ever got. But it was it was around the opponent's, about our 20-yard line. So I got about an 8-yard return against Iowa State 2005. So
did you have a touchdown celebration ready to go just in case?
I can't to be honest, didn't have one. I have no idea what it would have been. I would just probably have thrown the ball in the air and ran around like a madman. Maybe I've got a penalty.
Jay would have pulled out the Ocho Cinco where he's putting, right? You're using the pylon to putt for dough and get it handled that way. Jay, last thought, your 49ers trying to bounce back. They are in Minneapolis tonight. Two-horse race for you in the NFC. Is it Philly v. San Fran, or is there a third contender?
Yeah, it's really these two teams. And how good you saw Philly and what they're able to do last night. They had to slip up the week before against the Jets. But even with Deebo Samuel still out tonight for the 49ers, I think they're gonna handle the business. I mean, they're still a 7-point favorite. That's a big line in the NFL. That's a lot of points. So I foresee them taking care of business. McCaffrey's back. See how many carries he gets, obviously with the bruised ribs and all those things he's been dealing with. So that defense is so good. The 49ers defense is really, really good. I do not foresee them getting caught up in this one. They got an extra day of rest after getting beat, by the Browns last week. I think this is business as usual for the 49ers. It's just would imagine just like last year, an NFC title game, you're going to have the 49ers in Seattle meeting up again.
Could be pretty big. Jay Moore, Blackshirt Husker NFLer. Watch him Tuesday night. Big Red wrap-up at JMoore44 on Twitter. Jay will check in post-Purdue next week. Thanks for the time.
Yep, you got it. Thanks, boys.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Hail Varsity Radio, Roadshow here at Rosie's. 10th and P, back here next Monday night. It's Vikings-Niners tonight. It's playoff baseball tonight. Bags are out. Our old boys and friends, the Snitleys, got the Bag League going as that commences this evening. So lots of fun down here at Rosie's. Great food and drink specials, awesome burgers. Good to see Munchie and talk some ball with him as Nebraska and Purdue will kind of take center stage starting tomorrow. We touched a little bit on Northwestern. We touched on Spygate with Michigan and the fair catch that got reconfigured much to Iowa's dismay. So you're invited to check the podcast out, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for Hail Varsity Radio. And, of course, Hail Varsity, you can check out the show on the YouTube channel, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Follow the Twitter at HVarsity Radio. Give me a follow, Chris Schmidt at Schmidt_radio. Follow Elijah Herbel at Herbal Essence. So Coach Walters has a take in this season of disrespect, Elijah, on Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, 90,000 plus that are sea red, right? My history with Nebraska started at a very young age. I obviously grew up a fan of Colorado, my dad playing there, and that was like the hated rivalry, right? And so you remove yourself from that as a coach, and, the first time I got to play against Nebraska again was in 2021, my first season in Illinois, and I just remember them running out of the tunnel at in Champaign, and the feelings come back, right? It's like, man, I really can't stand that color. Don't like that end on the helmet. And so definitely this has been a big week. And, we've explained to the guys just how crazy it gets out there. They are diehard fans, win, lose, or draw. And so we're looking forward to a great venue to play a competitive and tough football game.
Meanwhile, the Purdue folks that have been left on the roster from the Brom era say, yeah, Coach, I know we've won out there the last 2 years.
I just like how he tries to save it at the end where he goes, yeah, I was a Colorado fan. First time I played against him in Illinois, I hated the color red. I hated the ends on the side of the helmet. But, yeah, it's a great place to go play. He tries to save face at the end to keep Nebraska from pulling the old disrespect card. I respect it. Hey, I think it's okay for a coach, and it's okay if Nebraska wants to use that as bulletin board material, okay. I don't think that's Matt Rule's style, but I like it whenever a coach says, you know what, simply put, my guys are going out there
I
on
hate
Saturday.
those guys.
They don't like him. I don't
guys.
like him. It's okay to say that in college football because it's football.
It's true.
It's football.
It's true.
Football breeds bad blood, and if there's bad blood between Ryan Walters and Nebraska because of his history growing up, that is perfectly okay. Rivalries and dislike make the game even better.
I think Coach Barnett, who will be with us Thursday, visited Ryan Walters in the newborn room because Ryan's dad played for Barney at Colorado. Diamondbacks 4, Fightin' Phils 1 right now, bottom of 5. Come check that out here at Rosie's. Also, ALCS tonight, Game 7. We'll see if the Texans have enough or were subjected to the Astros yet again. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Back tomorrow at 4 on Hail Varsity. Take care.